The house at the end of Marigold Lane had always been quiet, too quiet if you asked the neighbors. Its faded blue shutters seemed to droop like tired eyes, and its wooden porch sagged with the weight of forgotten years. No children played in the yard, no cars pulled into the driveway, no visitors ever stayed long. For as long as I could remember, the house stood there in silence, guarding something nobody dared to ask about. When I moved into the neighborhood, I was 24 and full of the restless energy of someone searching for a fresh start. I had just ended a relationship that left me hollow, and I believed a change of scenery would be the cure. The little rental cottage across from the old silent house seemed perfect, affordable, cozy, and tucked away from the chaos of the city. At first, I barely noticed the blue-shuttered house, but soon, its stillness began to creep into my thoughts. Every morning, when I left for work, I would glance at it. The windows were always closed, curtains drawn tight, as if whoever lived inside feared the world. At night, when I returned, the lights were off, leaving the house drowned in shadow. But sometimes I felt like someone was standing behind those curtains, watching. The first real encounter came on a rainy Thursday evening. I had just finished dinner and was sipping tea by my living room window when I caught sight of a flicker of movement across the street. My heart skipped. The curtains in the silent house trembled slightly, and a pale face appeared between the gap. It was gone almost instantly, but I knew I had seen it, wide eyes staring directly at me. I told myself it was nothing. Maybe an old tenant still lived there. Maybe they were shy, or unwell, or just private. But deep down, I couldn't shake the feeling that there was something unnatural in the way those eyes had locked onto mine. Cold, unblinking, silent. Days turned into weeks, and my obsession grew. I found myself listening for sounds from the house, footsteps, music, even the creak of a door. But there was nothing. It was as though life inside existed on a frequency too low for human ears. Silence radiated from it, pressing against me even when I tried to ignore it. Then came the noises. It started one night with a faint tapping at my bedroom window. My heart hammered as I sat up in bed, straining to listen. Tap, tap, tap. I pulled the curtains aside, but no one was there. The street was empty, rain glistening on the pavement, the silent house brooding across from me. I told myself it was just a branch or maybe the wind, but the next night, it happened again. And this time, the tapping seemed deliberate. 3 taps, a pause, 3 more like a signal. By the third night, I couldn't sleep. I sat awake, clutching a blanket around me, staring at my window until dawn. The tapping didn't come, but I saw something worse, a shadow in the upper window of the silent house. It stood there for hours, motionless, as if it was waiting. Watching. I finally decided I needed answers. On a Saturday morning, under the pretense of curiosity, I walked across the street and up to the sagging porch. The air felt heavier as I approached, my steps echoing unnaturally loud in the silence. I knocked on the door once, then again. No answer. I reached for the rusted doorbell, but before I pressed it, I heard a faint creak. The door was ajar. My breath caught. Logic screamed at me to turn back, but a strange pull urged me inside. Slowly, I pushed the door open and stepped into the house. The air inside was thick with dust and dampness. The living room was bare except for a broken armchair and a cracked mirror leaning against the wall. Cobwebs stretched across the corners, and a musty odor clung to the air. It looked abandoned, yet there was no mistaking the faint signs of life. A half-burned candle on the floor, a mug with dried liquid on the table, footprints in the dust. Hello? My voice sounded muffled, swallowed by the silence. No reply. I wandered deeper, each creak of the wooden floorboards sending shivers up my spine. The kitchen was empty, but the sink was wet, as though someone had just washed their hands. A single spoon lay on the counter. I climbed the stairs slowly, gripping the railing that felt slick beneath my fingers. At the top, I paused. The hallway stretched before me, lined with closed doors. And then I heard it, a whisper. Faint, almost inaudible, but definitely there. A voice that wasn't mine. I froze, pressing my back to the wall. The whispering grew clearer, though the words were too distorted to understand. It was coming from the last room at the end of the hall. The door stood slightly open, darkness seeping out like smoke. My body moved against my will, each step dragging me closer. The whispering stopped as I reached the doorway. My hand trembled as I pushed the door open. The room was empty, at least it seemed so. The curtains were drawn tight, the air icy cold. But then I noticed the walls. Words were scrawled across them in jagged handwriting, dozens of them, layered over each other. Silence. Listen. They see you. A chill raced down my spine. My eyes darted to the corner. And that's when I saw her. A woman crouched there, her hair long and tangled, her skin pale as paper. She wore a torn nightdress, her eyes sunken yet piercing. She stared at me with an intensity that rooted me to the spot. For a moment, neither of us moved. Then, in a voice raw and trembling, she whispered, "You shouldn't be here." I stumbled back, my breath caught in my throat. I'm sorry. I thought no one lived here. Her lips twisted into a strange smile. No one does. Before I could respond, the door slammed shut behind me with a deafening bang. The woman's head snapped toward it, and for the first time, fear flickered in her eyes. She scrambled closer to me, gripping my wrist with icy fingers. "They don't like intruders," she hissed. "Now they'll come." "Who?" My voice cracked. Her eyes darted to the ceiling. A low groan echoed through the house, as if the walls themselves were breathing. The floorboards shook under our feet. "The ones in the silence," she whispered. The next moments blurred into terror. The lights flickered, shadows slithered along the walls, and the whispering voices returned, louder now, surrounding us, pressing in from every direction. The woman clutched me tighter. "Don't make a sound. Don't move. They hear everything." I held my breath, trembling as the shadows thickened into shapes, tall, faceless figures with elongated limbs, moving unnaturally slow. They glided through the room, their heads tilting as though sniffing the air for us. One of them stopped inches from my face. I could feel the cold radiating from it, hear the faint hum that filled the silence. My lungs screamed for air, but I didn't dare breathe. The woman squeezed my wrist, urging me to stay still. After what felt like an eternity, the figures drifted back into the walls, dissolving into darkness. The whispering faded, leaving behind an even heavier silence. The woman finally let go, her hands trembling. "You need to leave," she said, "before they bind you to this place." I stumbled toward the door, desperate to escape. But before I left, I turned back to her. "Why are you here?" I asked. Her eyes softened with sorrow. "Because I made a sound." I fled the house, without looking back. That night, I lay in bed, unable to sleep, my mind replaying everything. I thought I was safe, but just before dawn, I heard it again, the tapping at my window. Only this time, it wasn't 3 taps. It was 4. And in the reflection of the glass, I saw a tall, faceless shadow standing behind me.